All right, President's Day. Welcome back, Matt Gannon-Jers. Not a winning week for us last week, but I don't know if it was a winning week for many people last week. A compelling week though, and we'll talk Jenny here in moments. But we've got a big week ahead of us. Mexico Open, the Magical Kenya Open, one of the highlights of the year. I just put out this morning my official top 12 rankings of national opens, both Mexico and Kenya in the top 10. I don't think there's any other week of the year where we get two top 10 national opens. So I was last night I was like, what are we going to talk about on the pod? And then I woke up this morning and the juices were flowing and I'm ready to go. How are you feeling about things this week?
Yeah, I tweeted out the graphic on Sunday when the PGA Tour posted the events for the next week. So Kenya Open, Mexico Open, gets the blood flowing. I'm happy that I think a Tony Finau great showing in a shit field will really get the PGA Tour back to normalcy, because that's just what we get every single year. So I'm hoping that's the case. I'm not so hope maybe not win, but hoping Tony can play well and get and be the face of the PGA Tour again in a shitty event. So that'd be nice.
Yeah, it's almost like pressing the reset button. If Tony Finau can win a Corn Ferry Tour / PGA Tour event, then that might be what we need to snap back things into place. Because last week we get another long shot winner in Hideki, even though he's not of the long shot names variety of some of the long shots that we've had this year. But I'd say Wyndham Clark and Hideki kind of fall in the same bucket. They're in the like 80-1 range, and they both obviously have the caliber to win those types of events. But went into the week, we were wondering, is this going to be a week where the big names rise to the occasion? The Scotty Schefflers, the Rory McIlroy. They largely did not. Instead, we got Patrick Cantlay, who's obviously, and Xander was up there going to the final round, obviously big name players. And at this point, some of the main top players on the PGA Tour. So going into the final round, I saw some people saying like, oh, this doesn't have the buzz. This is kind of lame. Like these, and it's like, if we can't get excited about Patrick Cantlay and Xander Schauffele being among the last few names, or among the few names at the top of the leaderboard, then you're not going to get excited about anything on the PGA Tour, because these are two of the best players. And going to the final round, it's like that was kind of the best final round setup, I think, going into the final round so far this year.
Yeah, I mean, we had 5 names tied for T1, including Pat and Xander on the back 9. Like that's some of the best finishes we're gonna get. I know Hideki pulled away before it got really hectic, but I mean, we saw a good finish. But personally, I wasn't like standing up like I usually am. I don't know what it was. I think I was just so upset with Patrick Cantlay's performance, and I guess even Xander's too. And I didn't have any money on Pat, but you know how I feel about Pat, and you like Pat as well. I'm sure you would like to have seen him step up and be the Patrick Cantlay that we talk about on a weekly basis, but he did not show any signs of guts, did not show any signs of doing anything well. Like, you have a 5-shot lead going into the weekend, 2-shot lead going into the day, and you're not even in the mix with 8 holes left to play. Like, you have no chance. Like, it's pathetic.
Yeah, and you, I believe last week you declared most likely not to win Patrick Cantlay, which was touch and go there for a second. But ultimately, the goal of who's most likely not to win is kind of a guy who may get into the mix and not win. So we're actually we'll count that as a win for you. But yeah, let's talk about Cantlay really quick, because he's your guy. You famously last year bet him, I think, like 20 weeks in a row, and then he almost won the very
$0.
Yeah, he won none of those, and then the first week you didn't bet him was at FedEx when he almost did win that event. But we get the first round and the second round from Cantlay that has looked a lot like the first rounds that he's had this year. I think it was the 3rd or 4th time this year he shot 64 better in the first round, which is far and away the most on tour, and already like more than I think in total anybody had last year. So like he's come out guns blazing in some of these tournaments. But as we've talked about the last couple of pods too, the swing has been touch and go for him in a way that it's not the consistency that's been there maybe last season. And it's specifically the left miss. We talked the left miss at Torrey. We talked about him on the range, grinding through it. He apparently was sick yesterday, so maybe give him some benefit of the doubt on that. But even throughout the week, and they talked about this on the broadcast, and we got to see it on the broadcast because they were showing a lot of the like range warm-up of the leaders and things like that on Golf Channel. He is still grinding hard on the range. Clearly wasn't like fully comfortable with his swing. And then he gets out there in the final round, and we've got the left miss in play. And as soon as we saw the left miss on the first few holes, I had a feeling we might be in trouble. And it turned out that we did. But what's the, like, I know you're going to say he's not a winner at this point, but the 0 for 7 now, I think, with a 36-hole lead, like, let's get an updated State of the Union on how you're thinking about him now going forward, because obviously he's going to be top of people's minds in a lot of these tournaments coming up over the next month or two.
Yeah, I mean, like, I just think from what we saw this weekend, and usually you say someone's on the blacklist after you like lose a bet on them, but like I think from just watching that from like a non-biased, I like Patrick Hanley, but like a non-biased, no money point of view, that was utterly pathetic. He showed no fight on Sunday. Even like he parred number one from like what was he in the right rough or maybe even in the fairway? I don't know what.
Yeah, he was in the fairway.
Yeah, he was in the fairway. Hit it in the bunker. It was a shit swing. And yeah, it was pathetic. He had a few like swings. I texted in the chat. It looked like he was just guiding the ball and trying to save him with his hands. Just looked very unconfident. And I don't know like what the deal is. Is he like, does he think he is like these top players may think they are like, we need to perform so well. And they just like it's too much for them. It's like when they're younger and free flowing, it's just like they're playing golf. Now they're like, I don't know what it is, but it's tough. How could you back a Patrick or a Xander when you just witnessed that for like X amount of time? Like we see it all the time. And Xander was another story, which I know you'll talk about after he luck sacked his way into the Eagle, what he did proceeding after that. But Patrick, you have a 5-shot lead, and you were dead halfway through Sunday. Like that's crazy. That's actually crazy.
I think the thing, so like you've definitely, your instant reaction, even yesterday in the chat, was same thing. Like you were hard out on Pat, and with the area that I'll like hold against him the most is it wasn't just that he had a big lead going into the Saturday round. There was a lot of gap between the chasers and then like down into the T5, T6, T. Like he had a big gap over the rest of the chasing group where the Hidekis were, where a lot of those guys who ended up getting their names up into the mix coming down the stretch. Mm-hmm. And that round on Saturday, when there was a lot of guys, I think that might have been the easiest day of the week. There's a lot of guys shooting 5, 6. Like that was the day where I think he lost the tournament, because you go into Sunday, apparently he woke up feeling sick. All of a sudden the lead's only 2, and 2 is not a big lead going into the final round of any PGA Tour event with some good names.
It was tied before he finished hole 1.
Right. So it was Saturday was the day he blew it for me. At the end of the day, though, I will say it's really, really hard to go wire to wire and win any golf tournament. Like you just see it especially in an event like this where it's so difficult, because the margin for error at Riv is obviously very fine. And I think they did a good job this year of having like a very fine line of the setup where you could score, but if you fucked it up, like you're going to pay the price for it. And when you're trying to nurse that 3, 4, 5-shot lead, and you're kind of between the, do I go for it? Mm-hmm. Do I like play it safe? It's just tough. And then you get guys behind you, like Hideki just says, fuck it, I'm going guns blazing. Like I'm going for broke. And those guys who were T5, T6, T7 going into the weekend, they just put the pedal down. They take dead aim at pins. And one of those players in a PGA Tour tournament is going to get hot and is going to convert on those chances. So I'll give Cantlay the benefit of the doubt on that. The player who I'll give no benefit of the doubt on, I tweeted it, and is Xander is a disgrace. Like, how does this, like, he's such a good player across the board. He might be the most consistent across every strokes gain category player on the PGA Tour. Like, sure, Scotty hits the ball better than him tee to green, and sure, Rory bombs it off the tee, and Cantlay can get going with the driver. But across the bag, putter, around the green, approach, off the tee, Xander Schauffele might be the best player on the PGA Tour. And
one of the best in the world.
Yeah, best in the world.
Yeah.
And you come in, you've done nothing. You get a bunker shot, you hold it. Okay, all of a sudden we're back in the mix. And then you hit 2 drives that they barely reached the fairway line. Like when you look at it on the shot link, like tracker, the ball is barely to the fairway. How does, like, he clearly looks so frustrated, a few holes later, you could just see it in his face. Right. Like, I can't believe this keeps happening. But how does it keep happening? I don't understand it. There's something like,
I totally agree. And I forget what I was just going to say, but how you're in the mix, you do whatever happens, final pressure. And then you just instantly gag it out of the mix. How does it keep happening? I was going to make a point on what you just said, but it just crossed my mind. But yeah, it's tough to back these two in events going forward. And like I said, I had no money on either of the two, but I think it's third party blacklist from now on. I don't know if I can do it. I don't.
And for just to quickly talk about the future events, because I think it's always good to do a little reset after a signature event and think through like, okay, in a few weeks there's going to be another signature event. Let's try to remember some shit that we can apply to. And we talked about this last time. Scotty Scheffler is a single bullet in almost every week, besides if there's a course where it's truly tee to green, like Mastery is the case. I think Memorial's an example, maybe Bay Hill, because that's just the success he's had. I was joking about it, but it's kind of true. he's like a traveling. He should enter like a traveling ball striking exhibition where he just travels around and shows off all his ball striking skills. Because as a golfer, at the end of the day, you have to make the putts, and so for me, I'm like, this is obviously a joking but somewhat serious take. Scotty right now, not a good golfer in my official assessment, because you got to be good at everything if you want to be defined as a good golfer. So Scotty, disaster.
Yeah.
And then Rory, like he's, I mean, we don't even need to talk about Rory because it was so disgraceful what he brought out there. Like you play again pretty good in the first round, and then you go 6-6 in one of those sixes and on par 3 to just absolutely eject from the tournament. So he's under 10-1 every week, but like ridiculous to back him. Then you get into the Xander range. Vic, he's still broken. Like clearly something's wrong with Vic. Can't like under 20-1. None of these guys you should bet any of these guys. Like period. Until proven otherwise, they're unbettable, in my opinion.
And I remember what I was going to say about Pat and Cantlay before. Like we saw how Xander gets in the mix and then he's out of the mix. As soon as the two are out of the mix completely, fairway green, both have eagle looks on 17, and then Cantlay drains a 50-footer on 18. Like, but there you go. When you're out of the mix, you do something extremely special, and that just really summed up the two golfers. So that's all I had to say.
And what's going to happen is, and again, I'm not pointing out anyone else specifically. I'm almost talking about myself because I do this too. I know we all do it. You almost did Scotty single bullet last week after we like talked about how bad of an idea that would be. Because you go look at the stats, and in 2-3 weeks when API is, they're going to stand out in the stats, and it's going to be beautiful. The numbers going to be amazing. But the point you just made is the one to remember. It only takes 3, 4, 5, 9 holes of fuck ups basically to take it from you're winning this tournament to the T3, T5, T8, T10 that we see all these guys fall into consistently. And yeah, the numbers are going to pop off the screen and they're going to be beautiful. And this is the week. Fool me once, fool me twice. Like it's, if you had started your cards in the 50s, 60s this year, everybody would have winners, because the guys who are winning in those ranges, you can piece together if you give yourself the number of chances down the board to find those guys. And my official stance right now is I would not be surprised if all 4 winners of the majors come from LIV this year. Like I genuinely think, given the choice, I would take 4 winners from LIV over the likelihood of even 1 or 2 winners from the PGA Tour. But with that said, I think the best chance of a winner of a major from the PGA Tour might be Will Zalatoris, your guy. He's back. He looked great, but kind of a Will performance in the sense that he got right there and then didn't close it out, and some other guy kind of swooped him at the end. A quick State of the Union also on your guy, Willy Z. I know you were thinking about him at Bay Hill. We've definitely got him penciled in as a probably 10-shot winner in Houston, but are you going to pull the trigger in Bay Hill when the time comes?
Oh, yeah, 100%. And I'm even thinking to pull the trigger if he's most tipped, which is a lot for me, but he was very highly tipped in Memphis when he won. So, Will Zalatoris, we saw in the first round, he came out super hot, draining those long putts, but I think he is on pace faster than we thought. He looks really good. The numbers look solid. And I was heavily, even if I had $0 on him, I was heavily rooting for Will. He's my favorite golfer. And yeah, if he didn't close it out, but that was the first time he was in contention in over 14, 12 months, because he wasn't really in contention last year at Riviera. I know he had a good finish. But yeah, he got into contention. Beautiful. It's going to come. It's going to come this year. I love what we saw from Will. He just looks like that guy on the golf course. The high draw with the irons, missed a few right, but I think the new swing that he's got going, he feels a lot more comfortable, which he didn't the first few months. And we are on pace for Houston for sure. And I think Bay Hill is on the sea.
That everybody remember that. We'll come back to this moment here in a couple of weeks. But I agree, he looked great. I don't think he's just your favorite golfer. I think he appears to be potentially a man of the people, because I think it was 13. He made that birdie putt that put him ahead by 1 for just a second before Hideki went on his tear. But the crowd was really behind him, probably behind him more than anybody else out there. Willy Z, man of the people. Everybody loves him. And like I said, I think maybe the biggest threat on the PGA Tour to win a major this year. Even ahead, I'd put him ahead of Scotty right now, because the putting is so bad for Scotty right now, and it's all in his head. And until he can get out of that funk, give me Willy Z on the PGA Tour. So yeah, I think I'd probably end at Bay Hill too, depending on the price, if I'm that confident in him as a player. But we can't move on without talking about the winner of the tournament. That's Hideki. I don't know if I talked about on the pod. I've definitely been writing it up the first few tournaments of the year. I bet him at Torrey. There were clear signs in his driving distance numbers that he was becoming healthy again. And I wrote about that early in the year because when he was struggling last year, he's been kind of up and down over the last year and a half. His driving distance numbers were down so much because clearly his neck, back, something was amiss. Those numbers were trending back up. The ball striking was looking pretty good, but the putting had been absolutely horrible. I bet him at Torrey. He 3-putted 5 greens in a row. Like, I didn't see enough with the putter to like him at either even Phoenix or this week. He also didn't putt good at Phoenix, which is a course where normally he has success. He putted okay, I would say, but Hideki just proves that every once in a while it's hard to pin down when he's going to do it. But when those irons get toasty hot, those approach shots into 15 and 16, maybe the best consecutive iron shots to win a golf tournament that I can ever remember seeing.
Yeah, that was unreal. And you were on him at Torrey, and I gave a strong case for him at Pebble. I wish I would have hung on to those because those iron numbers were trending. But yeah, Hideki he's the guy you can never just count him out when he gets going, because even if like he's out of the tournament, he still has one of those rounds in him. Just to obviously it boosted him to number one, but he has those rounds like every now and then. He'll shoot a 62 to finish T7, just something like that. So yeah, it worked out for him in the end. Obviously, he needed some help from the top of the leaderboard, but the top of the leaderboard was a bunch of gutless guys, so it worked out in Hideki's favor. And like you said, with the fine line of going for it or not, Hideki had a few iron shots where he like didn't love, and they were probably a few feet from turning into a bogey. Like on that par 3, what was that number?
16.
16. He was leaning. It just carried the bunker. If he gets under that lip, that's a 4 at minimum. But you just got to have those guts to either be all in or be all out. And like you said, with the leaders, they were kind of on the line of, do I go for it? Do I not go for it? And Hideki went all in, and it clearly paid off.
Yeah, and I think that's what Hideki does. I think that's why he is a guy that should always be under consideration when he's in the 50 to 1 or above, just because when he gets a sniff of the mix, he's going at the pin. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter to Hideki if he wins or loses. Like, he's taking dead aim, and I think we saw that because it was basically as soon as it got to that 5-way tie where it was like, oh shit, this is going to be a crazy finish. Like, anybody could win. Within 15 minutes, Hideki had almost hold consecutive approach shots, and it was kind of over, assuming that he could birdie the par 5. And I think the par 5, the way he played that, will get overlooked because of how magical those two approach. He stepped up on that par 5. You can't go in the bunker on the right because that's an automatic layup if you go there. Pipes one dead down the center. And then that 3-wood that he hit was unreal. Mashed. Like, it went through the back of the green, but it's because he nutted that 3-wood. Like, you couldn't hit. It was like one of those machines that does the trains or does the club testing. It was like 3 straight holes where he did not miss by a millimeter the center of the club face.
No, yeah, he I think that number, he had like 279 to the flag, and the flag was in the front right. He hit it like 20 yards past the flag in the heart of the green. That was like a 312 carry with the 3-wood, and he got it up and down for B. Like, that was just reminiscent of Sony Open. Obviously, it wasn't directly at the flag, but that was absolutely nutted. He was just balls to the wall, free walling it. Like, that was. I like Hideki. I like when he wins, so that was good to see.
Yeah, I think like Hideki's one of those guys who I don't think he has like. People aren't on a weekly basis saying like Hideki's my guy. Like, I want Hideki to win. Like, I'm rooting for Hideki. Yeah. But every time Hideki gets in the mix, I think people are like, oh, Hideki's dope. Like, good people guy, support Hideki. I like Hideki. I love his caddy. That guy's dope. Love that guy. The picture of him smoking after the round, sitting up above the roof was pretty sweet. And I will say too about Hideki, like, I've the last couple of years gone to most of the major like practice rounds. Hideki grinds so hard compared to pretty much every other player. Like, you can't go to the course in a practice round and not see Hideki either on the course or on the range, like just grinding. And I one time sat there for 30 minutes, I think at Brookline, before right behind him on the driving range. Like, my seat was, I could almost reach out and grab his club in the backswing. And just watching him hit iron shots, they don't curve at all when he doesn't want like it's like a bow and arrow. Like, it's just absolute ball striking machine. So shout out Hideki, great win for him. And I think why couldn't Hideki, going back to PGA Tour players who could win majors this year, I think Hideki's done it.
Why not?
He always mixes in majors. The short game's so good that like he just keeps he stays afloat, like just always. He's got a long long stretch, or he did have a long stretch of made cuts in majors. So I'll have my eyes on Hideki major futures. I'm sure they dip down after this win, but we might get some rise back up. But I'll have my eyes on Hideki come major season as well.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's going to be tough for the major PGA tours this year. And I was a massive person who said Liv has no chance in the majors last year. Obviously, I was wrong. State of the Union on that is to be determined. So we have some time, and I will get back to you on that.
We'll be on the lookout for that as we continue into March and April once the Masters comes around. But this week, Mexico Open, Vedanta Vallarta. I love Mexico. A few years ago, went down to Mexico City, solo trip. Great time. I've had a soft spot in my heart for Mexico forever since then. Now, Puerto Vallarta, nowhere that close to Mexico City. It is a shame they don't have that tournament they played in Mexico City, the WGC that they played at Chapultepec or whatever it was, because that's right in the heart of Mexico City. If they still had that event, I'd be going every year because that place, Mexico City, is sweet. That course is sweet. We're down a little bit further south on the water here. Like I said last week, I didn't really have anybody in the mix. I don't think you had anybody in the mix that I remember. Our boy BK, of course, had Cantlay. Shout out to him for the Cantlay first round leader. But I just had a bunch of guys who were kind of like T30 the whole week.
Cam Davis, and then
quick Cam Davis conversation, because we talked about him last week. You were high on him. Obviously, you bet him. They should put that second round and first round on Cam Davis's gravestone, because it was the most typical Cam Davis performance that I think we've ever seen.
Yeah, and he did the same thing on the weekend too. He was like 3 under on the front nine every single day. He was 9 under T1 on Friday afternoon didn't play 10, didn't play 11, 2 birdie chances, and he shot like a 41 on that back nine. And then he shot the same thing on the back nine. He did the same thing on Saturday, went 3 under on the front nine, and then just ejected on the back nine. Like horrific swings, not like bad breaks, horrific golf. It was just, I was actually genuinely upset because I was doing my Friday live show, just like State of the Leaderboard, while it was still going, because I went to a concert that night. Usually I do it after. I was like, oh, Cam Davis. Oh, another bogey. Oh, Mr. Ford, another bogey. I was like genuinely like tilting on the stream. So State of the Union on Cam Davis. I mean, he flashed. He was a long shot. I'm not all mad, but it was quite embarrassing. He finished like T50, something like that.
Yeah, I really think, there's different levels to this. Like, I think the biggest waste of talent right now on the PGA Tour is a tie between Xander and Scotty, because like Scotty, at the end of the day, like, we're seeing generational with 13 clubs in the bag, and you're just dropping the ball with putter every week. So that's a disappointment for me. And then we know the story with Xander. Cam Davis, though, obviously not in the same tier as those guys. He's so good. He's so talented. You watch him in person, and it's like in the practice rounds, nobody hits the ball better than Cam Davis. It's a joke how he hits it. Like last year at LACC, him and Wyndham Clark, I texted about, like, they stood out as the best play, like just purely watching them hit, the best two. We know what Clark did. I still think that potential is there for Cam Davis, but the mental side of the 100%. Game for Davis is clearly a weakness, because it's such a roller coaster with him. And I do think, like, in the hundreds, if he keeps popping up 100 to 1 in these type of events, just take a swing at that every time, because like he could do it. But yeah, he's a disappointment for me. He's not in the field this week in Mexico. He would be the type of player that we'd be on the lookout, though, for this week in Mexico. Pretty straightforward stuff here. It's not just a narrative, it's a fact. Drive the ball well here. Strokes gained off the tee. Distance a huge advantage, without a doubt. I read Tony Finau's presser from last year. He listed off driver, or he said something about driver and driving distance 7 different times in his post final round press conference, just saying, like, they're like, why do you love this course? Why do you play so well? He's like, I love to hit my driver. It's all about driver here. My distance is an advantage. My long irons are an advantage here. That's the story of this course. And interestingly, a tricky little tidbit that I'll toss in here too. It is a birdie fest in the sense that the scoring will be low this week and the weather looks fine. Like, I think we get sub 20 winner, but it's actually bogey avoidance has ranked out a little bit highly here as a stat, a correlation, than the birdie making. And I think that might be why we've seen some of the better players in the field. Obviously, Rahm and Finau going back to back with the exacta first second. Like, it's just as much about avoiding trouble on some of the longer, difficult par fours, because then if you can take advantage of the par fives and some of the shorter holes, you're going to score. So not as pure of a birdie fest, in my opinion, as some other events we might have on the calendar.
Yeah, I 100% agree. You got to be able to hit your long irons well and hit your middle irons well. It's not like you're getting a wedge on every single hole out here. So 100% agree. But you also got to have the ability to keep the pedal down and make a ton of birdies. So it's not a golf course that's going to lend itself to five 200-to-1 guys in the top 10. There's going to be some good players. I mean, for the field, it's going to be some of the better players coming down the stretch. At least I hope.
Yeah, we'll keep. We're gonna be right about that one of these weeks. If we say the top players are gonna be up there, and we say it every week, we're bound to be right one of these weeks. And the top player this week, go to golf.vincerix.com. We've got the odds page up now. It's got the model scores on there. It's got course history. It's got recent form. It's got the best odds, and also shows how those odds kind of move over time, which I think is interesting to look at. A clear number one this week. You can get a 7-to-1 on him right now, so that's right in the range that if you're going to fire a single bullet, like that's a perfect price on a single bullet. That's Tony Finau. We talked about Finau last week. I put out a public service announcement and I said, if Tony Finau has changed something with his putting, I need to be alerted because he will win the Genesis Open. And then he comes out on the very first hole of the tournament. That putter blade, instead of being tilted up like this, was flat down on the ground. He rolls in like a 40-footer for eagle, and I instantly was like, what a disaster we have on our hands here. Tony Finau has fixed his putter. Nobody told me we're going to have a Wyndham Clark situation. That ended pretty quickly. The putter went back to shit. The ball striking remains tremendous. I think this is, we've said this last couple of weeks. I haven't come on here and say I think the favorites are legitimately going to win. I think I've said I think the favorites aren't going to win these tournaments. I think Finau is the best chance for a favorite to win so far this season, but he's the best price on Bet Rivers, which I never like. The putter is much worse than it was last year, even though he can putt these greens pretty well. So I'm not going single bullet on Tony. Is it under consideration for you?
Not under consideration. Just because I don't like to bet guys going back to back. But besides that, let's go back to the Instagram post. He cares about this event. He posted on Instagram how he was excited to defend Mexico. Like, he did not have to say that. He clearly wants to be back here, clearly wants to be on the PGA Tour and defend this event. And he fits the narrative. He's a long hitter, but the ball striking is like some of the best we've seen from Tony Finau, so, which is definitely nerve-wracking heading into the event, not backing him. But I just would rather not back a 7-to-1 call for when we see all these long shots winning. But it would be extremely on brand for we get all these long shot winners in a long shot field, birdie fest, and then Tony Finau wins. It's gonna happen. Like, it's just like you can see that happening too, right?
Right. Yeah, no, I'm literally saying it would surprise me the least of any tournament this year if Tony wins. Like, I think this is the most true favorite of any tournament so far this year. If he gains with the putter, he will win this tournament. I don't see any way he doesn't. So if you give me 7 chances basically, and I need him to gain with the putter one time, I think he can do it here. He gained last year, but the putting is just so, like, last year he came in L25 and was gaining 0.2 per round. So like positive putter coming into this tournament last year. He is negative 0.5 right now. So like the putting is just so much worse. And maybe he gets on these greens. He obviously loves this place. Besides talking about the driver in his press conference, every other word was like, my family fucking loves Puerto Vallarta. We love Vedanta. We know Tony travels with the family. So they'll all be there. They love this place. Like, he is going to play well. If Tony isn't like a true threat to win on the back nine, I will be surprised. But I think just enough putts don't fall where it won't be a Finau week. But he should be tough to beat in this field at this course.
Agree.
The next tier of players, actually, Nicolai Højgaard, our guy, we talked about him last week. He did not play very well last week. He didn't play terrible. He played fine. I still think he wins at Riviera at some point in his career. Like, it's a course where not a lot of first-time winners win at all, and we talked about that, said let's still roll the dice at 66-1. Did not work out. We also saw first-time debutant Ludwig Oberg did not play that well last week either. So the course history piece last week, I think a guy like Højgaard, who didn't play too good last week, you can kind of let that slide because of the course history. He comes in here at 18-1. Obviously, this place makes all of the sense in the world for the skill set that he has. But sub 20-1, that's tough for me. I think I'll still kick it around this week, but is that just a pure no-go for you at 18-1, or do you think that's still worth poking around at?
No, I definitely do like Nicolai here because he played it last year, which I really like. He knows how to manage these conditions, and we saw him almost win Corrales, which is not the same golf course, but a similar style of golf. And Look at the field. Just come on. This is when I was looking at like the top names on the DraftKings, like I was like, okay, Hodgard, Olsen, Detry. I was like, is this like a DP World Tour
Yeah.
event? Because they were like three of the 10,000 guys. I was like, what the hell? So yeah, this is like not a good field. You're giving me like Nicolai versus Tony Finau versus a few other guys at 18-1. I can talk about it. I don't love the fact that he might have to get to 25 under, but yeah, long and straight off the tee, elite iron player, get hot with the putter, has played here before. I think he's definitely under C.
Yeah, I would agree. And one of the top crossover, we don't obviously have many years of data, Vedanta, but through 2 years, one of the top crossovers is Torrey. I think the driving and the long iron play being a reason for that. And obviously Rahm and Finau have played great at Torrey. Nicolai was just in the mix there. And to your point, he's played Corrales. He played well there. I think he might have played another one of the like Puerto Ricos or something. But either way, he can handle these conditions. And if you just go down the next, like, is he a better golfer than Emiliano Grillo? Yes. Is he a better golfer than Steven Jaeger? Yes. Is he a better golfer than Thor Olsen? Yes. Is he better? Like, he is the second best player without a doubt in this field, and maybe long term the best player in this field, because I still think he's got number one potential in him. Finau has had plenty of time in his career to show that he could be number one. I don't think we're going to get there with Tone. So purely on skill set, I agree that Højgaard, the next best player in this field. I'll give him a thorough look. My only question with him is like, you don't need to be amazing around the greens here, but you still need to be able to gain a little bit, especially on those par fives. If you miss the green, you got to be able to get up and down. You're going to hit it in a few bunkers for sure. That is the biggest weakness in his game. And the putter hasn't been toasty hot recently, but he can obviously putt the past pal. And he's a very volatile putter. Like when it spikes, it really spikes. When it doesn't spike, it doesn't spike. But sure, why not Nicolai? And in this field.
Sure. Yeah, I love that Torrey connection you made, because I earlier during my DFS show, I thought about it with Mike Kim. I was like, Mike Kim popped at Torrey, and look at Rahm Finau, and now I'm definitely think I might be in on Mike Kim. But yeah, that's a great crossover that you referenced.
Yeah, so again, over at Ben Sarik's crossover top 10s, crossover winners, always an interesting thing to look at. The man who sits atop the model this week, he always models out well. He finally paid off modeling out well at Torrey. Steven Jaeger, Jaeger bombs. I was on him here last year. I remember him like just striping the shit out of it here last year and then missing so many short putts. Let's see what the actual ball striking figures were for Stevie Yeggs around here last year. Yeah. Yep. Plus 7.2 with approach last year here. Lost off the tee, but he's obviously added distance to his game now, driving a lot better. Was great around the greens here. Got pwned on the greens. But when you're looking for a guy, like, he's tee to green as good as any player in this field. We know the putter ebbs and flows. He's T15, T18 the last 2 years here. Gets the confidence off of the Torrey performance. I'm not convinced that he's going to be on the card this week, but I can't argue with the model number one of Stevie Eggs here in the Mexico.
Also under consideration. I mean, what we've seen from Jaeger is anytime he has gotten into the mix, he's not looked well. He looked okay for a longer period of time at Torrey than he has. I forget what tournament it was last year when he was like the 36-hole leader or was winning on Friday and then shit the bed the next day on Saturday. It was another resort style course.
I don't know specifically the one you're referencing, but I did have him at the Byron, and he played really good at Byron. He kind of faded in the third round, but that's another course. I think Byron's a reasonable comp here. Another course where like it's a low scoring event, but tee to green play is more important than like spike putting ability. So I'm down.
Yeah, but like there's not really any other people where I can say like everyone's gonna be a loser. So I like Jaeger in that aspect, and the Torrey crossover is really making me like things more, which I wasn't really thinking about heading into this show. So I definitely under consideration going forward.
The red flag on Jaeger, also highest odds right now on Bet Rivers. Surprisingly, Bet Rivers is a book that like you're not going to get the best odds on a lot of guys on Bet Rivers usually. And usually, like I said last week, and I talked about it in the Discord, I don't like when I see a guy with the best odds on Bet Rivers. I've tracked this for a couple of years, and it almost never hits. I don't know what they know, but they tend to know. And like of the guys at the top of the board, you can get the best odds on Bet Rivers on Tone. Nicolai's no, Grillo no, but then Jaeger, Olesen, Pendy, Proj, Jake Knapp, Van Royen, Davey T, Brandon Wu, all those guys, the best on Bet Rivers. Red flags, all of them for me this week.
Okay, that's definitely they are a sharp book for whatever reason, so that's definitely something to note. But Nicolai is not there, so
Nicolai and Grillo. What's the deal with Grillo? I don't think he can win, but
I agree. And like Grillo, if Grillo was 35-1, sure, take a flyer. He's one of the favorites, and you're asking him to get to 25 under. Look, Grillo has figured out the putter, and he's played a lot better with the putter. Also the iron play and the ball striking is he makes a ton of sense, and he finished T5 for last year. Yes, but I think that T5 was like 16 under. Grillo is not a guy I want to bet at 18-1 where I have to put a lot of money up for him to possibly get to 25 under. You want to bet these long shot guys, these guys who are younger and just don't know anything else but to keep going low, and guys who have done it on the Corn Ferry Tour and stuff like that. Grillo is just not a 25 under guy. Like, he won at Colonial. What was that score? Like 9 under, 8 under, 10 under, something like that?
8 under playoff, yeah. And the other thing about Grillo is like he's been 150-1 like most weeks so far this year.
Yeah.
And now he comes down just because the field drops and the course history moves into third in the odds. Like, I don't think it makes much sense. And what I like to do, like, for right or wrong, is I like to, when a guy finishes T5 or he's got good course history somewhere or he's got a good finish, I like to look at what was the stat line in that finish, and can I imagine him improving upon whatever that was. And when we look at what he did here last year, negative off the tee, sure, he could gain a little bit off the tee. He's not going to gain a ton. He doesn't have the distance to gain a ton off of the tee. He gained over 8 on approach. Probably the best for the season for him, I would imagine. Like, is he going to put up his very best approach numbers again this week? Maybe, right. Probably not. He lost around the greens. He loses around the greens every week. He's one of the worst around the green players on the PGA Tour. And he gained 4 with the putter. He could gain 4 with the putter again. I just don't see how. There's not. Could he do that same stat line again? Maybe, but can he improve on that stat line in the key areas to win the tournament? I don't think so.
Let's do that same exact exercise you just did with Brandon Wu. I want you to look at Brandon Wu.
Brandon Wu, famously one of the best driving accuracy performances in the history of golf here last year. We still talk about it to this day. He's coming off of a performance at Waste where he lost 3 strokes off the tee. Before we look at his stats from last year, he's one of the most just like it's either happening or it's not happening. Like, B-Woo pops or he doesn't pop. Like, when it's going good, it's going really good. When most guys, you look at their profiles and like you see some consistency in certain stats. It's either like he gains a shit ton in any category or he loses a shit ton. So always tough to say. But his stats here last year, he gained 3.2 off the tee, gaining with accuracy and distance. He could probably do that again because he's done that the last 2 years. Like, anytime I see a guy 2 years in a row kind of do the same thing, it's like, okay, he likes this course or something going on. So could he gain off the tee? Sure. Approach. He lost on approach last year, but his approach has looked pretty good over the last few weeks. Around the green, he's highly inconsistent around the green, but he did gain last year. And then he just fucks on these greens. Like, he gets on the path. He was making so many long putts last year. He gained 8 strokes putting last year. He gained 6 the year before. What are his odds? Hold on, let's see.
That's just my concern. He did it all with the short game, and like I know you need to make a ton. You need to make a ton, but he didn't hit the ball great. That's why I wanted to do it, because I knew he was just like all putter last year.
Yeah, 40-1, Brandon Wu. That's a no for me.
And he's 90. No, he's 80. He's $9,100 on DraftKings. He's not that much better of a golfer right now than his brother, who's $6,900 on DraftKings.
Hold on, let's look at Dylan Wu.
Like, I was egregious pricing from those two.
Yeah, Brandon Wu. I don't play much DFS, but 9,100. If he was popular, I'm good on Brandon Wu. He could play well T3, T2. Anyone with a brain can look and see his course history and go, he could play well here again. I'm not going to argue with that. Right. I just think he's so volatile that he could also easily miss the cut. Dylan Wu, not playing that great. He sucks. I'm good on Dylan Wu. I'm good on both of the Woos. Count me out on both of the Woos this week. That's not going to be for me. Let's talk about some of the DP World Tour players really quick, because we've got a lot of DP players in the field this week. We know the DP players can win. Pavone has opened the door for DP players winning in these type of fields. We're seeing him high on the odds board. It's crazy to see our boy Thorbjorn Olesen. Thorbjorn Olesen is 28-1 in this field. Thorbjorn Olesen on the DP World Tour most weeks could be 40-1. Like, yes, most in recent weeks he's been 20-30-1. He was at 18-1 or so at Raz when he won there, but like, Thor's lower price in this field than he is on the DP World Tour.
And this is the first PGA Tour start of 2024, right?
Yeah.
So I was shocked at his DFS price. I was shocked at his odds. I think a lot of it is being taken out of that recent win, which is like, why? I know this isn't murderer's row of a field, but still, we've seen guys like Victor Perez come out here. He's a good golfer, and he's looked like, whoa, the PGA Tour is a different level. Ryan Fox last week in the mix, or 2 weeks ago in the mix at Phoenix, pissed down his leg on the weekend. Pavone's a different breed, but I think
Pavone would have won quickly. Pavone would have won Riv. So like, they wouldn't even need to play the final round because Pavone would have been so far ahead. But yeah, so, and the thing about Olsen, I like Olsen. Where did you, Thailand. I had him in Thailand. Great victory together there. He's a great player. He's a great iron player. The short game's awesome. Good putter. The driving's highly inconsistent. Like, when he drives it well, he plays well, but it's kind of touch and go. There's no, like, statistically, it all kind of makes sense for him this week. It's just like, you're getting he's not sneaking up on anybody with the pricing on Olsen.
I was shocked. And like, for him to be 10-3, we see Sammy Valimaki down there 6,700, Bjork 7,300. There's no reason that either of the two. I know Bjork is not the best course fit for either of those two golfers could easily beat Thorbs this week. Like, without it, no one would be surprised.
I mean, if all of these DP guys were playing in a DP event on average over the last 6 months, you could, like, Bobby Mack would be up there, and he's like 150-1 or something like that. Sammy Valley probably wouldn't be up there. His odds were kind of always long, but 60, Big 70. Dick Vic Perez would be up there. Fox would be probably ahead of him. Rio would be up there. Rio's I don't love what's happened with his pricing. I thought we'd get more under the radar from Rio. I don't love the course fit this week for Rio. But yeah, Thorbs.
His iron plays unreal.
Yeah.
Rio's a stud.
I love Rio. But the DP guys, if you just go down the board and take the DP guys further down the board, I think is the simple solution this week, because they're all kind of the same. Vic Perez, I like Vic Perez this week. The way he drives it, his ball striking's been pretty good. Get him on the pass palum. Maybe he can get something going. It's not a perfect comp, but there's some stuff that overlaps with the Italian Open here. Just the kind of, you got to bomb it from the tee, and then the grass types and stuff on and around the green. So Vic Perez played good there. Bobby Mack. I know you're out on Bobby Mack, but I think Bobby Mack might have something up his sleeve. He's been hitting the ball fine. He's been putting terrible. Get him on the pass palum. Get him on the pass palum. I know he's been practicing. He's the type of guy who can just pop, like, he can play terrible and then be good again. At 130-1 and like 7,000 on DraftKings. In a course where we've talked about, like, it's a balance between birdie making and avoiding bogeys.
Great bogey avoidance.
I'll poke around Bobby Mack this week. Why not?
I did not think you would go there, but I probably won't be joining you. But I like what you're saying. Pass palum might be the solution, but like, we think Scotty's a bad putter. Just Bob Mack's putting numbers I laughed when I saw how bad they have been. But I think a lot of that has to come with being in America, added pressure, stuff like that. He's not that bad. He's not a bad putter. He's really not. But that will come around sooner or later. Maybe this grass will help him.
I don't think I'm going to bet him this week because he's just not quite firing yet. We've got our eyes obviously on him at the Valspar. That's going to be an easy victory for Ryan Fox. But if you want to bet Thorbjorn Olesen, just bet Ryan Fox, because there's no reason that Thor should ever be lower odds than Fox in any tournament. So take Fox. Two great drivers here, kind of around the same price, 28-1 or 30-1. One of them is your guy. One of them is another guy that from time to time I know you love to get on. Give me one. You can only have one. Thomas Detry or Keith Mitchell. Kill a Keith. You can only put one on the C this week. Who are you putting on the C?
Probably Keith Mitchell, because people are going to bet Thomas Detry. Thomas Detry will be popular, and I know he loves these conditions. He moved down to either
Corrales,
Puerto Rico. He moved to Puerto Rico or Bahamas? What do you mean?
I think it's Punta
Punta Cana.
Cana. Yeah,
Okay,
Corrals.
he moved to a resort island and he
Yeah.
plays out of these style of courses, so he should be comfortable. But I feel like it's if he can't win in Belgium and do it in his own home soil, I don't really see him doing it in the near future. And I'm a big Thomas Detry guy,
My
but just
problem with Detry is even it like I was shocked when I looked at his stats because obviously he's been playing really good to start this year
yeah,
in Torrey
I know
and
you're going with
Pebble.
this.
His driving's been awesome and the putting has been
Can't his
awesome,
irons.
but
Yep.
he's lost approach and around the greens in all three of those starts. It's like it's Minwoo Lee type of stat line, where like, can he finish top 10 with those stats? Probably, but this isn't driver putter. Like it's driver ball striking, and you use that to set yourself up for good birdie look. So I'd much rather take a guy who is a great ball striker but struggles with the putter here than the driver putter guys like Detry who are going to miss too many greens, and that's going to be that difference between he's going to make a couple more bogeys than the guys who are just keep hitting greens, playing it safe, because all of those guys are still going to capitalize on the par fives and on the easy holes. I think the thing about this course that kind of goes under the radar is like, you just can't fuck up the hard holes. And I could see Detry making a double bogey or something like that.
Yeah. Oh,
iron
surely making a double. He's a double bogey king. And about that driver putter, Keith's a driver putter guy, but his irons are clicking of late. So I like that for Keith. And I do bet Keith here and there. And he is like not, he's not good. Like he won once, but what's your state on? I don't know what to say on Keith because I like him, but I don't know if I want to pull a trigger.
I'm not like 30-1 on Keith Mitchell is a recipe for being absolutely pissed off like at some point, because, and I think that's, I mean,
like what?
This is true of the whole PGA Tour this year. Like I said, can Finau win? Yeah, I would not be surprised in the slightest if Finau. Can Højgaard win? Sure. The price on Grillo, you're getting a guy who's 151 a few weeks ago. He's 20-1. Steven Jaeger, literally mixed one time in his entire PGA Tour career. Olesen hasn't played on the PGA Tour in like a long ass time. Good player, can win. Detry, no need to comment there. And then you get to Pendy and Keith Mitchell. Pendy, he's number 2 in the model. He's played here before, I think.
Whenever he makes sense, and I bet him, it's like he like misses the cut. Like truthfully, like Pendy should make a lot of sense on this golf course, long off the tee, and tap into everything else. Like finished T30 here last year, but like Pendy popped. He don't look now, but he's got 2 top 10s this year. Like he's playing good golf. But where did he pop in the fall? Kind of out of nowhere.
Shriners. He gained across the board at Shriners.
But that's not a course I think he'd excel on.
I agree with you that Pendy, every single time I've said this is a Pendy course, it's end up backfiring. Here's my concern. And again, when you course history, like when looking something up about course history about a guy. This is a course where if I told you Taylor Pendrith is playing, he's going to gain off the tee. He lost off the tee here badly. He lost 2 strokes off the tee. So, and it's not like he's driving amazing right now. He's lost strokes off the tee in 2 of his last 4 starts. Like, I don't want a guy whose game is distance, who you would expect to gain off of the tee easily at this course, to lose off the tee. So I'm good on Pendy. Then you get Keith Mitchell. We just talked about him. He's going to let you down. Patrick Rogers, that guy couldn't. You wouldn't bet Patrick Rogers at 33-1 if he was playing against a bunch of like 4th graders. So like he makes sense, but it's just like he's not going to win. So then we get to Ryan Fox. Maybe Fox makes sense. I don't know. Then here we go. Your boy Jake Knapp.
No, not my
like you said you love his statistical but we're down to the 40-1s already, and there's not a single guy who you just would feel comfortable saying like, this is my guy under.
What's Jake Knapp's odds?
40-1.
That's insane. What has he done besides like backdooring a solid finish one time in his career? That's it.
It's
and have cool Instagram and Twitter stories. Like that's it. That's literally it.
And his swing looks good on the broadcast when they're going to break down his swing in 4K or whatever, and they're going to be like, "Damn, this thing's beautiful." Should he play well? Sure. This is something I also like to do with the Corn Ferry guys. I like to look back and see what these guys have won in their lives, because Pendy is a great example of this. Pendy forever has been a guy, like Pendy has won only on the Canadian Tour in his life. And like, if you can't win on the Corn Ferry, I don't know if you can win on the PGA Tour. Jake Knapp is 29 years old. It's not like we're talking about a young golfer here. His best finish last year on the Corn Ferry was a tie for 5th. He's won in Canada. He's won in Canada a few times, but like 40-1 on the PGA Tour.
Unreal, absurd, horrible bet.
Like, no.
And he's gonna be chart. I promise you.
Oh, people will be on him. Van Royen's 40-1. At least Van EVR
That's
can
a better
win.
bet.
Yeah. Of these guys, we've listed off the first 10 guys on the board. EVR is the first one where I'm like, yeah, he can win, and 40-1's fair. Davey T. And then there's Brandon Wu. There's Rio Hubbard. Like Justin Suh. He could. I like Suh. It's. I think what we've realized, and I didn't really think about it until we kind of got into the pod and are talking through the guys. I'm leaning towards starting down the board. Give me some guys. I know you met. I think you did your like sub 6K DraftKings show already. That so far you've been thinking about it. There's a lot of guys sub 6K, but like down the board, give me some names that just pop up. Like you're eyeing these guys. I know obviously a Mav McNeely is going to be on your horizon. Give me some names that we're eyeing.
Yeah, I mean even lower, I'll go. Just because if you just bet a bunch of guys who have flashed.
Mm-hmm.
And the numbers right, and you don't know what their ceiling could be. In an event like this, I feel like is a great recipe for success. One of my vintage 12-man cards of starting at like 80-1.
You're gonna have to. Luckily, you have Twitter Blue because not all the guys will fit in a normal Twitter post to get all the guys on there. Yeah,
like guys like Garrett Higo, a winner with all the talent in the world who can bomb it.
Before the season, a quick Higo note. Before the year, I wrote up Higo as one of my top 8 most likely breakout players because of the fact that he's got all the talent in the world. I like Higo.
Yeah, and he's like over 100-1. Joseph Bramlett finished T10 here, bombs it. I mean, he's been out here for a little bit, but like we don't know the most about him. Harry Hall, this is his 3rd year on tour, 2nd year on tour. Driver putter build. The irons are a question mark, but it's a long shot. Guys like Grayson Sigg, he finished okay here in 2 starts. Can hit the ball all right far. And like I like these kinds of guys. What's your thoughts on Chosty too? He hits the ball a mile, but I don't.
Alejandro played well here last year. Here's what I'm gonna do, because I think this is if you're looking for some long shots. I don't know much better way to go about.
It's a good pick this week.
I'm sorted by strokes gained ball striking L20. And here, let me grab some distance guys here too. And we're gonna quickly talk through some guys, and you're just gonna give me a yay or nay on kind of like how you're feeling about these guys who fit the course profile of distance and good ball striking, and are gonna be long nuts. Can they mix? A guy who I know you love. He doesn't fit the distance, but he has been striking the golf ball. He's a man who is mixed on the PGA Tour. He won the Utah Championship, which I think is a bomber course on the Corn Ferry. Canadian Roger Sloan leads the field in ball striking coming in here. Roger. Wow. Can Roger mix?
Yeah, he almost won at the 3M Open, which is a course that has a similar profile.
Almost won Wyndham. He's mixed on the PGA Tour.
Oh yeah, he was in that playoff.
T2 at the Puerto Rico Open. T2 at the Puerto Rico Open. Pass Palom. Give it to me. Roger Sloan. What are the odds on Roger?
That guy like 200, 175.
Hopefully even more. Hopefully we can get a big number on Roger. 250-1, Roger Sloan.
On the sea.
Okay, Roger can mix. There's some guy I've never heard of before named Tom Whitney. He gained a shit ton ball striking. He finished T13 at Farmers.
What?
Yeah. Tom Whitney, T13 at Farmers. Keep your eyes out for Tom.
Tommy Witz? Daily Witz?
Watch out for Tommy. Patrick Fishburne. He was coming up from the KFT. He bombs it. He's 32 years old almost. So that's he's not
that tells you what you need to know.
Yeah, he's not sneaking up on anybody here. This is a guy like he can win on the PGA Tour. He can mix. T4 Carlos Punta Cana Championship in 2022. Johnny Vegas. Johnny Vegas is on his way back. I like Johnny Vegas this week.
I'm expecting Johnny Vegas to actually like be somewhat popular last week just because he's back and we saw him in the mix in Phoenix, not in the mix, just on the leaderboard.
Yeah.
The putter does scare me, but it always does with Vegas.
What are Johnny's odds? Let's see.
I'm gonna go with 85. 100. No.
66 on Johnny. You're not. That's tough. But a high floor type of guy, I think, at a course like this.
Vincent Norman, dude. Let's talk about him.
Vinny. All right. So we've had him penciled in as the winner of the Canadian Open. I do believe
he's on the card. He's on the card.
He's
finally ball striking it. I'm not sure his odds, but he's missed a few cuts, but he's hitting the ball well again, which is good to see. Not as good as he was hitting it before Barbasol, but he's just a guy who can bomb it out there far. He made the
Yeah.
cut at Torrey. No, he missed the cut at Torrey. No, he made the cut at Torrey, which is a great sign because that's a course where obviously crossover.
He gained in every strokes gain category here last year. T18. He's 70-1. The putter has something really wrong is happening with the putter. Hopefully, he gets back on the pass palm and can fix it.
Really wrong.
It's gonna be. I think it's a no for me on Vinny, but I not
in this field.
A no for the C. Well, maybe I agree. He can win. We know he could win. We know he could win if this was a DP
Won
event.
Twice already.
Yeah, you're right. All right, I'll think about it. I'll think about it for sure. Vinny, this is the guy that I wanted to talk about. This is potential winner of the tournament. Parker Cootie. I know you're high on him as well. Parker Cootie. This man,
what odds?
Like 130, I think is. I got him. I grabbed him this morning. He's the only guy who's officially on the C so far.
Yeah, I was high on him
He's
too.
125. I think I got a 130 on him. He bombs it from the tee. He's put up back-to-back over 1.5 per round approach numbers at Farmers and the AMX. Played good on the Corn Ferry last year. Was a good college player. The putter in the short game is hit and miss, but maybe he's good on pass palm. Ball striking wise, this guy's as good as anybody in the field. 130-1, young player. I think he matches all the things that we're on the look for.
Yeah, he finished top 5 on the Corn Ferry Tour 5 times last year, and those are events where you have to take it low as hell. So clearly he's still in that mindset at least. Maybe down when he gets a little older, he'll be more of a Diffie C's guy because the ball striking is so good. But he knows what it's got to take it low. And these guys this young, their focus is to play really good, to win golf tournaments because he knows, he's so young. If he wins on the PGA Tour, massive storyline. And he's just going to be the new toy of the PGA Tour. So if we can get ahead of those stories, that would be awesome. And like you said, I totally agree with you. When I wrote him up on yesterday for you, I popped. I was like, what the hell? These ball striking numbers have looked insane for his early PGA Tour career.
Yep. That pretty much sums it up. One guy here, I know nothing about him. I'm just going to tell you that his off the tee numbers are delightful. Some guy named Kevin Doherty. Kevin Doherty has gained over a stroke per round off the tee. In both of his starts so far this year, he had 3 top 5 finishes on the Corn Ferry, including one at that Utah Championship that we mentioned. That's a Bombers course. He's obviously not going to win, I don't think, but a guy to keep an eye out on. A guy who could win, probably won't win because he never truly mixes, but he's started to. There's something happening with Doug Gim's game. I like Doug Gim. Doesn't have the distance that I'd be looking for here, but he's gained in every strokes gain category in 2 straight starts. He's obviously building up to win the Players. But
there's a Gim flow chart. Is it a TPC course? Yes, no.
So we're out on Gim. All right, that's fair. That's fair. We're out on Gim. But yeah, so I think as of this moment, having talked through the odds board with the great jurors, I'm looking down the board this week. I think that makes the most sense. If I was going to go up the board, I think Nicolai is probably the one who intrigues me the most, just because
I agree. I think I might do that.
Yeah, we don't know what he's going to be, but we know he's really good, and we just listed off the top 12 guys on the board and couldn't really believe the odds on them. So I think that's probably where I'll go, and it's a nice segue to a quick conversation about really the tournament of the week, one of the tournaments of the year on the DP World Tour, the magical Kenya Open in Kenya. Last year, one of the greats of the DP World Tour, Jorge Campillo, the winner. He beats Masahiro Kawamura. The year before, I hit the winner, one of my favorite outrights of all time, Ashon Wu. I'd never heard of the guy before, but the numbers looked good. You got to hit the fairways in Kenya. This is as short of a course as you're going to see in the professional game, but a course that's short, but it doesn't get overpowered. It's difficult. It's tricky. The greens are insane. Your 3 putts galore. Short game's important. I know you're fresh off of a winner on the DP World Tour. Give me some names that you've got your eyes on. You said you might even have the card finalized for the DP.
I think I got 3 names. I mean, Hoshino
back to back,
could do it. He could do it. I do like that, but I never really bet back to back. I like Alex Fitz, Connor Syme, and Shub Sharms, our guy.
Oh, Shubes. Open champion at Royal Liverpool. Shub Sharms.
I like those guys. Alex Fitz struggles a little bit off the tee, but he has a really solid short game, really solid putter. I like the iron numbers. Connor Syme has played. He's a top 5 here in his career. Absolute striper of the golf ball, but the putter is a hit or miss. But I like that he's played well here before. And Sharms, great iron player, great putter, and has played this event in its entire existence. He's played it the last 4 or 5 years, at least. So he didn't have any overwhelming course history, but he's a guy who mixes in bunches, and hopefully we can get ahead of that mixing in bunches from Shubes.
I agree, and Shubes is a guy who, for whatever reason, on these types of courses, apparently because it's at elevation, and I heard this one. I think Thomas Peters might have said this. I don't know why I know this. He said anytime you get Sharma at a course at elevation, he fucks. Tommy Peters was like scouting the field and like knows that about Sharms.
Way.
Yeah, and apparently this one is because Sharms can give you like a +8 approach a performance out of nowhere. Like he could lose strokes on approach for like 3 years in a row, and then he'll just show up and gain like 8. He's accurate off the tee. He was playing fine there for a little bit, so yeah, I'll give Sharma a look for sure. He when Wu won in 2022, I think Sharma had the 36-hole lead because I had Sharma that year as well, and I was like, oh, we're toast because he melted down. Ewan Ferguson, I think, is the favorite. Ewan makes a ton of sense. He can win on the DP. He's been playing well. He's number 1 in the model. We'll see if I bet you. And I haven't committed myself to anybody on the DP yet. Aaron Cockrell, he almost won here before. He's been playing good, but then he sucked last tournament, but it could be a bounce back spot for Aaron Cox. Keep your eye out for him. A guy who just clicking through here. I think you were on him the other week. Max Chief Keefe. Maximilian Kiefer. That's a man who hits fairways and can make putts. He was T20 here last year. I'm just looking as we speak. He was T4 at Ross. Like Chief Keefe. I'll have miles on Chief Keefe this week for sure.
Yeah, he had a good season last year too, so I'm definitely down. I have some room on the card because I have some room. I think I'm gonna lock in Fitz, Simon, Sharms, and then I'll have a little bit to play with. So I'm not gonna do the favorites thing unless because Thirsty's an auto T3. Auto.
Thirsty will mix, yeah, for sure. But I like Thirsty when he's like 30-40 to 1 because he can win it. He can win at any price, so no need to go down here. I'm just sorted by accuracy on Data Golf for the Magical Kenya Open. That's my starting point. Get a look at the accuracy numbers for these guys. And here's a guy who always flashes with the accuracy numbers. He's going to be the first round leader of the Magical Kenya Open. Who am I thinking of? You think who's a guy who's going to be the first round leader, and then he'll be like T27 by the end of the 3rd round?
Oh, I don't even know who's
accuracy.
Jordan Smith.
Andy Souls. Andy Sullivan.
Oh, Andy Souls. Okay, Andy Souls. I wouldn't have gotten there. But I'm down.
Andy Souls can be first round leader and have no chance of winning. We got to talk about Freddie Lacroix really quick because Freddie has been striping the ball. Like there may not be a guy in the world who's hitting it better off the tee than Freddie Lacroix. Like he's absolutely smoking it off the tee. He went T5, T3, T4. He finally missed the cut in Qatar. I think it was too close to the sun for Freddie Lacroix, but like the dude can swing the driver. I don't think he can make enough putts at a place like this, but just Freddie's got a future in this game.
How old is he?
He's a little old. He's 28.
Yeah.
But we know strokes gained France is a big plus right now. Pavone kicked that off, so watch out for Freddie. Freddie.
He's on an absolute tear, and I remember I bet him one time ever, and that was at the first South Africa event. I forget what it was called, like after COVID. I forget what something like that. And he was like out the gates like crazy, like 4 under through 5. I was like, holy shit, who the fuck is this guy? Am I gonna hit a winner? And then he just like did not do that. But I've not bet that.
I think I just found the winner. Oh no, damn it. His best odds are on Bet Rivers, so I'm out. But this is a man who once went on a hot streak on the DP World Tour. He's one of the Americans who applies his craft over in Europe. John Catlin. He's an accuracy wizard from the tee. Johnny Katz. He just went over to Malaysia and finished T3. And I love when Johnny Katz goes and plays some random event. And he was T6 at the Thailand Open, 10th at Mauritius on the DP with Drew, and then finished T3. So Johnny Katz is in form.
He's trending, yeah.
He was T15 here last year out of the blue. Bet Rivers is telling me he's not going to win, but I would be shocked if Johnny Katz doesn't have his name in the mix at some point.
Yeah, I bet him more than I probably should, like over the last 2 years, and he's never paid anything off for me. But you don't have to sell me twice on Johnny Katz, so I might be down.
Damn, Max Chief Keefe is 51. The odds really drop off. Like if you're not on Thirsty, Ewan, or Hoshino this week, or Fitz, it could be on anybody. Alejandro Del Rey, my boy.
Gouget, can he do it?
Probably not. He's 28-1. Alejandro Del Rey is
Oh,
28-1.
He's been the last few weeks. You invented him way long ago, but after he's South Africa, he finished like top 10
He's been playing good.
And then after that, he's been like sub 30.
But yeah, this is not an Alejandro Del Rey golf course by any stretch of the imagination. We've got him penciled in.
If he was in Mexico this week, though, strokes gained Spanish.
Like I'd probably single bullet him if he was in Mexico. He'd win easily. So that sucks that he's not there. But yeah, Alejandro
need to get Charms in that opposite field event in Colorado in the fall, I think. Because I can already see the inside joke.
The elevation.
Charms at elevation. Like, come on, how did you not know that?
Yeah, you gotta. If Thomas Peters tells you to bet somebody, you gotta listen to him because Thomas Peters is most of the time paying no attention. So the fact he like has this in his brain as something to remember is meaning something. So yeah, lots of good stuff on the DP. The model will be up on Ben Sarix. The article will be up on Ben Sarix. We'll have picks you'll have your picks out on Twitter for the DP. But yeah, we got Mexico this week. We've got Kenya. Lives on the horizon coming back. Things are trending in the right direction. I never will promise a winner, but I feel something this week. I'm gonna try to find a winner. I think it's to be found. I think if, like I said, I like the odds on the PGA because I think you can wipe out a lot of the guys below 40-1. We just need to beat Big Tone. I'll put together a big card on the PGA Tour. Obviously, that will be up on Ben Sarix. Get to golf.bensarix.com. We got the best odds. See how guys are moving there. See who might be trending down the board. Just for reference, right now, let me give you. Wow. Here. Oh, interesting. I'm going to give you the top 3 guys who have odds have gone up. Are getting bet the most so far, or their odds are moving the most. And number 1 is a guy that we should probably be on. Callum Tarrant. 200-1.
I bet him a lot. No, he's negative chance.
You're out
actually negative. You're out. Like literally, they showed him one time on the broadcast last week or 2 weeks ago in Phoenix. Chunked a wedge from 80 yards. I bet him on.
Yeah,
I bet him
on terrible.
Phoenix.
I mean, his stats
in Phoenix. I bet him 150-1 live top 20 because he was 2 under through 3 before the delay, and then he came out and just sucked ass. And no, he sucks. He's an unserious golfer, but he's a bomber though.
Yeah. The approach numbers are pretty nice, and the short game's looking good.
That he's getting sharp action. That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean he's 200. Like he's 26 in the model this week. We have seen him when it's ball striking. He fucks at the PGA and the U.S. Open.
TPC Potomac.
Yeah, like I don't think it's a bad bet. Later. At least Callum Tarrant's come close to winning on the PGA Tour. Like he mixes. He has T5 at Puerto Rico. Past Palom comp.
That makes me. All right.
Next up. Right. Another guy who plays good on Past Palom and sneaky good golfer, winner on the PGA Tour, Nicolai Echeverria. He's the next biggest mover. And then a guy who definitely does not match the course, but at 300-1, he'll mix from time to time. Little Ches Reavie. Ches Fest.
He will play it at every fairway if he can get hot with the long irons.
He was up there. Sure. He played pretty good last year.
Yeah.
I think I had him last year.
And I think his approach numbers were insane last year, if I'm not mistaken.
T13, he's made the cut both starts. He's playing terrible. He's playing horrible golf. Some of the work, like his L25.
Saving it for like Tahoe.
Yeah. Let's actually continue to hope he plays bad so we can get a good number on him at Barracuda because that's when you want him. So yeah, those are the biggest movers so far. JB Holmes and Kevin Chappell also moving, as well as Davey T, Sammy Steves, and your boy. What's BSB Novak going to bring to the table this week?
BSB Novak, I mean, he popped out of nowhere. I don't know how focused he is right now because all he does is do NFL podcasts, literally like 3 a week. Follow him on Instagram. He does so many NFL podcasts. But I don't know. BSB knows. He played well last week. He honestly impressed me on the weekend more than I thought he was going to. I thought he was going to eject, but he hung his own. So, BSB knows. Hopefully he found his game because I like him. Where did he also mix last year? He was Canadian.
Canadian. Yeah, the Canadian. Okay. But yeah, so good over there. Those the risers and fallers will change throughout the week. We're only a few hours into the odds being out here. Get over to benserix.com for the detailed model write-ups from Jers and I think we probably wrote up 60 some players already up on the site. So if you just want to get there, get some thoughts from us, and then also get in the Discord. People are always chatting through different types of bets, not just us coming up with them, but kind of the community there working together to try to find some winning bets. So that's always great as well. And quickly tonight, we've got one of the best college basketball games of the season. And I do a personal ranking of the top 30 each week that then we blend into the VCI ranking that we have up on cbb.benserix.com. I have this as number 2 versus number 3. Houston for me is the number 2 team in the country right now. Iowa State is number 3.
UConn 1?
Yeah, UConn number 1. My top 5, I think, was UConn, Houston, Iowa State, Purdue, and Arizona is my current top 5. Like Purdue, I think Purdue's fraudulent. Like you can't lose to Ohio State, who just fired their coach. Like that's a disgraceful loss by every measure. Who the line's like 9 on Houston. Houston's been absolutely unbeatable at home. They just curb stomp you. That is one of the best environments in college basketball. What are you feeling on the game tonight?
Yeah, even Houston's loss in Ames at Iowa State was so impressive in my opinion. They were down and out from the jump. They got down by like 16 early, and they battled all the way back. And I placed the future on them that night. I was like, this team, like winning you're not going to win on the road. Like that's fine. They lost, but like their resilience and their just overall toughness and grit. I was like, I haven't seen a team like this all season. So I like Houston. I'm not sure if they're going to cover, just mainly because the total's so low. It's going to be possessions are going to be at a premium. You're going to have to defensive battle. I don't really have a side. I think Houston wins, but I could see it being within the number. I could see this game going under the total though. 128.5. I think that might be
the totals moved too. It total went up to like 130. It's like 131.
Oh, that's very weird because I think that it was like 57 to 58 last time they played, or something in the 50s.
Yeah, it was really low scoring.
Odd, very odd.
I'm still out. I'll obviously tweet out from Hoop and Serix Hoops any picks for tonight, but I'm waiting. I'm hoping to get an 8.5 on Houston because I like Houston tonight. They've won every game at home by like 20 points. I think Iowa State's really good, but their road people will be like, oh, Iowa State has been playing good on the road, and they have, but they haven't played Kansas on the road. They haven't played Houston on the road. They lost to Baylor, they lost to BYU. Like they've beaten TCU and some of those like mid-level Big 12 teams on the road. They're obviously good, but I like Houston tonight. So some college hoops action.
Biggest advantage in sports, home court in big college basketball atmospheres in any sport.
Yeah, like I made I had a good betting week. I think I was 4-2 on hoops on Saturday, but one of the dumb bets I made was Texas plus 10.5 against Houston. And Texas played.
I bet
Texas
that game
played good, but like the crowd, I hadn't really watched that many games at Houston. That crowd's electric from the opening tip, and like the way they play defense, they get out, they get a fast break dunk. All of a sudden, they get 3 fast break dunks in a row. You do not want to fade Houston at home. So, But Jers, appreciate you hopping on. Good luck this week with the bets. Good luck with the hoops. We'll be back next Monday for is next week your home event?
Home game next week. So that'll be a big show on Portman Television.
Right. So basically, you're looking to hit a winner this week because you want the back-to-back. Because next week, it's slam dunk. I'm tailing you 100%. So we'll see you next week for Honda. Thanks, sir.
Great show.